confidence is probably the biggest thing that people, I don't even want to say struggle with, but people want more of. They want to feel confident with who they are and what they're doing and the decisions that they're making. So I think confidence is really big.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Amy Littlefield. She's the leadership coach and founder of In the Flow. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kelsey. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yeah, excited to have you. So Amy, why don't you start and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'd love to. I am, as you said, a leadership coach, but I've had quite the journey to get here, which is always really interesting. I started in digital marketing back in 2004. And I had a great career working in digital and media and advertising. And for about 16 and a half years, I kind of grew my career there. I was able to get a lot of promotions. I had a lot of great leadership teams that I was able to learn from. And like many people, 2020 hit and my life really changed quite a bit. And I was able to kind of take this reset and thought to myself, I'd like to do something different. I'd like to kind of create my own, my own company and really help others. So I found my way, interestingly enough, into a executive and leadership certification program. And here we are today, August of 2023.
I love it. I love it. That's a really great story, Amy. So tell me a little bit more about In the Flow.
Yeah. So In the Flow is a company that I started at the beginning of last year. So I've been official for about a year and a half. What I focus on is helping other people grow. So I have a number of different programs that I offer, and they're really under this umbrella of personal and professional growth. I work with one-on-one, I work with groups, I work with corporations to offer well-being and mindfulness programs. But really the goal is how can you develop yourself and how can you feel better when you wake up in the morning and go to work and when you're making big decisions for your life. Coaching is really great. It's this accountability partner. It's this support person. It's this collaborator and somebody that you can share thoughts with. And that's really, what I want to do and what my mission is to really help people feel inspired with their life, feel courageous with their life, and grow to be their best selves.
Oh, I love that. Obviously I've shared with you, I was a social worker in a previous professional life. So helping people reach, their goals is so important. So talk to me a little bit more. You mentioned, helping personally and professionally kind of in different ways. Tell me a little bit more about the work that you do within the Flow.
Yeah. So my signature program, if you will, which I feel like that's a bit of a buzzword now, but I do have a marketing background, is a personal growth program. So that's a program where I've taken all of my years of managing and mentoring and training from my digital marketing background, as well as my coaching training, and looked at what do people kind of need. And the big things are courage, clarity, being intentional with your next steps, and then this huge piece of creating an action plan and actually sticking to it. So my signature program is really based on that kind of personal and professional growth. And that could be whether you want to open your own business, whether you want to up-level your career, whether you want to go back to school or make a huge pivot. It's, helping you be able to figure out what those next steps are and actually being brave enough to do them. But I also work with corporations directly that they may have rising stars and women that are growing or men that are growing their careers. And they just want to help them build their executive presence a little bit more or their management skills a little bit more. So I can offer those services as well in one-on-one or in group coaching. And group coaching is really cool because everyone learns together and you can kind of really have this nice cohort and collaboration and just facilitating the group along the way. So everyone's growing at the same time, which is really nice.
I think that's fantastic. You mentioned helping foster kind of some of those leadership skills, within individuals. Obviously that's an important benefit of working with a coach, but talk to me a little bit more about what that work looks like and the benefits of it.
So a coaching session, and you may relate to this as well with your background. I'm getting on a Zoom call with somebody. We don't do this in person really anymore. Getting on a Zoom call and starting with, where are you today? Right? How are you feeling? What would you like to talk about? What would you like to work on? And usually people come with some topics. A lot of times, if it's a more professional relationship, they have had feedback from 360 reviews or from their manager of things that they'd like to work on. And I think a lot of times people also know where your strengths and weaknesses are. It may be hard to admit that, but bringing that and being truly honest about where you are and coming into these sessions is great. So coming into a session, we're looking at each other via Zoom. We're talking about, what do you need to be coached on today? And then there's this beautiful dance of questions and inquiry and motivational interviewing and all of these different skills that I've been able to hone, not only from doing coaching training, but just being a manager, right? And even just being a person. Like, the more we can learn how to communicate together, the better, and really actively listening to what somebody is saying. In all coaching sessions, we really want to have some type of what's next at the end, right? Because if somebody's investing an hour in their time, we are all so busy. If they're investing that time with me, I want to make sure that they're walking away and really feeling good about what good about their charge forward and what they're going to do next.
And I'm curious to hear, obviously with your expertise and your background is a big differentiating factor for In the Flow. What would you say are some other ways that In the Flow is really able to stand out from its competition?
Yeah. So the first thing is, the coaching industry has become a little bit of the wild, wild west. Unlike to be a licensed therapist, you need to have those licenses. Anybody can really call themselves a coach, and that can be good and that can be bad. So I think to stand out as a coach, having some type of schooling is critical. And admittedly, I love to learn and to go to school. So I relished in that opportunity to be able to do that. But of course, having that certification and accreditation behind you is really key. But I think a general way to think about it for any business to stand out is to really just be authentic. And I think putting yourself out there through your marketing, through your one-on-one interactions, through content marketing like you offer for WriteForMe, right? Being authentic is huge, because that's where you're going to really be able to not only differentiate yourself, but find the right customers. Coaching is such a personal relationship. I mean, I've had people cry, and that's normal. I've had people express emotions that are really hard in these sessions. So if you can be authentic and real with who you are throughout the whole marketing and sales process, and even the journey with your clients, I think that's just really key to always be able to do.
And, I think you raise a really good point about, being genuine, showing up as your authentic self. To that point, do you tend to see different challenges that people have, kind of reoccurring themes of when they come to coaching, really what they need? Because it got me thinking, like, I imagine maybe sometimes people have trouble showing up as being their authentic selves, or kind of being more of like showing their human side. So I'm curious to kind of hear from your perspective, what would some of those challenges be?
Number one, confidence. And I have worked with people that are in college to in their late 50s, male, female, different roles. Confidence is probably the biggest thing that people, I don't even want to say struggle with, but people want more of. They want to feel confident with who they are and what they're doing and the decisions that they're making. So I think confidence is really big. And the other thing is, people have really great ideas, but how do you get those ideas into an actual action plan and goals and execute on them? So not only being confident, but when you make a decision or you have a great idea, how do you take it to the next step? And that's something that a coach can really help you on, is figuring out what's next. What are those concrete steps? And how do I hold myself, if I'm in the receiving end of a coaching relationship, how do I hold myself accountable? My favorite way to end a coaching session is, how are you going to hold yourself accountable? Because I can be your accountability partner as your coach, but I can't do it for you. I'm not coming to your house, making you do your action items for you. It's really helping somebody remember that they're in the driver's seat and they're the ones that are going to take those decisions and next steps.
And when you're talking about your, clients, I know you mentioned pretty much every age range, different careers, genders. Do you tend to see trends in the different industries that people work in?
Yes and no. The majority of my clients have come from digital marketing just because that's what my background is. But I've worked with a college student and I've worked with a lawyer, and I'm still seeing those same types of patterns, which is really interesting. I enjoy working with digital marketing just because we speak kind of the same language, and to be able to have that relatability is really nice. But in terms of coaching, everyone has opportunities that they'd like to take advantage of, and everybody has struggles. Another big one I see a lot is balance. People are overwhelmed with life, and whether you're 20 or 40 or 60, I think that is always there. So how can you help people find a little bit more balance and prioritize what's important to them?
I think that's fantastic. And I'm curious, if you could give our listeners one little piece of, because confidence is a main one. Is there one
Mhm.
little tip or trick that you could maybe share with our listeners as just one small change that people can make to really elevate their career to that next level?
100%. I think the biggest thing to remember is celebrate your wins and your strengths, because every single one of us has superpowers inside. And we get into the day to day and feel tired or a little bit beat down, and we forget that. But you do have things that nobody else has. Like, every one of us is unique. And to remember your own strengths and superpowers, I think is just really important with not only growing your career, but getting through life.
I completely agree with you. Well, Amy, where can people go to learn more about In the Flow?
Yeah, so I have a LinkedIn, of course, is always really popular. But I have a website, intheflowservices.com. And on that website, I have some information around the corporate well-being programs that I offer. I also have information around my personal growth programs, which is typically that one-on-one relationship, as well as information on group and individual coaching that corporations typically hire me for to work with their team members.
Fantastic. Well, Amy, before we start to wrap up, what's in the future for In the Flow? Any exciting things on the horizon?
Yeah, I am excited about a lot of things, which is a really great place to be. I think it's interesting because it's only been a year and a half for me, and I've learned so much in the last year and a half. Some of it the easy way, some of it the not so easy way. But where I'm focusing on is really growing out more of the group coaching business and the personal growth program business. I love working corporate, but I think there's something special in being able to do it more on a one-on-one basis, and then bringing together groups of similar people so that they can then share experiences. When I work with people, one of the first things I do is a core values exercise. And one of my core values is actually connection. So being able to be a conduit for connection, whether it's through one-on-one coaching or group coaching, is really special to me. It's something that really resonates with me and makes me feel good.
I think that's fantastic. Well, Amy, as we start to wrap up, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, whether it be advice or, more about In the Flow? Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
I think the biggest thing is, if you're starting a new business, or if you're even starting a new career path or making the change, be ready to fail and own it, because that's how we learn, that's how we grow. And I know many times throughout the course of my career, I was very afraid to make mistakes, to fail, but that's just a part of life. And I think when we take ownership of our failures and don't hide behind them, but just honestly say, I'm learning, I made a mistake, and take everything as this opportunity to grow, I think that's really, really powerful. So, especially if you're starting a new business, but really starting any role or changing careers, I think it's important just be open to those failures and reframe them to say, I'm not failing, I'm learning and growing. And this is just a new opportunity for me to do that.
And then celebrate when you do, in fact, learn and
Yes.
progress.
Yeah, celebrate your wins so much more than you already are. Even if you're celebrating them working remotely at home in your office. Maybe get off camera, but jump up and down and celebrate that you just did something really amazing.
That's fantastic. Well, Amy, I think this has been a very insightful conversation. I hope our listeners, take advantage of In the Flow, reach out to you via LinkedIn or the website, whatnot, really working to expand professionally, personally, their own reach, and might be the best versions of themselves. I think this was a great conversation. I really appreciate you being on Business Ninjas today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelsey. It was really great to be here, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Great to have you.